so lacking any other suspects, I'm guessing.
Watch out! Behind you!
There's nothing behind me. I'm a witcher, I'd have heard it, just like I can hear your heart, which is pounding, like a liar's.
So, in today's video, I want to discuss the quest Precious Cargo, and a couple of rare/hidden outcomes this quest has. In case you don't remember, Precious Cargo is one of the very first secondary quests you'll ever encounter. You'll stumble upon it while exploring White Orchard, and the quest involves a guy who claims to be an innocent merchant who, in his very innocent and not at all murderous adventures, was on his way to trade with some Nilfgaardians when a bump in the road sent him flying off of his cart. Apparently, his horse then bolted into the woods and was eaten whole by some drowners.
Then I heard bubbling, neighing, slurping. Something came out from the muck, devoured Asher, hooves and all.
The merchant is too scared to retrieve his cargo himself and asks that you do it instead. Most importantly, he wants you to find a small box that apparently contains something important. If you agree, you'll follow some tracks and head into the woods, where you'll find a dead horse that very clearly has not been eaten alive, a cart with several arrows lodged into the side of it, and a human shot directly through the neck. This leads Geralt to conclude that the so-called merchant is a liar, and also an idiot, because I have no idea how he expected Geralt to find what he wanted without also seeing through his paper-thin story. A few steps further into the woods, and you'll then find the box that had been flung from the cart, and upon returning to the merchant, there are a few obvious endings to this quest. You can just ignore the lies and murder and let him go, or what you're probably going to do is call him out to see what's really going on. When you do this, he will immediately take off and you have to chase the guy down. When you catch him, he'll tell you the truth. He's a former Temerian soldier named John, and the cart you found was actually a medical transport headed to a Nilfgaardian outpost, and this guy killed the driver to stop the Nilfgaardians from getting the medicine, which was in the small box he wants. It's also worth pointing out that right next to where the Temerian originally sits on the side of the road, you can also find another dead horse that has been partially eaten, alongside some of the original rider's belongings. It's possible the implication here is that this might not be the first time John has killed some unsuspecting travelers. Anyway, you can choose to do three things with this guy at this point. Let him go with the medicine, let him go but take the medicine for yourself, or you can even turn him into Nilfgaard, where he will be surely put to death.
Medicine's here, in this box, and this is a 3-in-1. Liar, thief, and your corporal's murderer.
Plow yourself, mutant.
Captain Peter will see to him.
By the way, for those of you that do remember what you did in this quest, I would be curious what choice you ended up making here, because none of them seem perfect. Anyway, besides the obvious ones that I mentioned, there are two additional ways to complete this quest that I absolutely love. The first is pretty simple and involves Geralt basically being the worst Witcher of all time, which is the opposite of what Geralt is, but the game does account for players completing this quest in a pretty unreasonable way. If, when you head into the woods, you choose not to investigate the glowing red cart riddled with arrows, the bloody murdered horse, or the dead body with an arrow through its neck, and instead just run past all of them to pick up the medicine, and again run past them on your way back, when you return to the merchant, Geralt won't realize he was lied to, so you have zero dialogue choices here, and the interaction automatically goes like this with no input from the player.
Oh, and you find the box?
A little wet, but intact.
At last, fortune smiles my way. Yours as well, Witcher. Here, the gold I promised you. Happy trails now.
Doing things in this way also leads to a funny entry in the journal that says something along the lines of, Geralt wished all of his contracts could be so simple, free of any moral dilemmas. If you ever take the time to look at the quest journals, they often have little jokes like this if you mess up a quest and complete it without doing things correctly. Moving on though, the second hidden outcome to this quest is my favorite, because I feel like this one just sets the stage for the level of commitment to detail that players are in for throughout the rest of The Witcher 3. It also has multiple layers to it, which is always a plus. So, when you call this doofus out on his obvious lies, as I said earlier, he immediately takes off. If you let him get too far away from you, he and his horse will just despawn, and the quest will fail altogether. And to be fair, this can happen pretty easily because when the cutscene ends, the game doesn't spawn you on your horse and the so-called merchant instantly bolts. However, so long as you jump on Roach right away, this guy is very easy to catch. And if you follow him all the way to the village, he just trots at a snail's pace. You can just slowly ride alongside him. So, what I wanted to know is what happens if you don't let him get too far away from you so the quest fails, but you also just intentionally leave him on his horse, even in the village where he just trots. Let's be real, in most games he would either just disappear or just run in circles until you eventually succeeded in knocking him down. But because this isn't most games, this is The Witcher 3, what actually happens is you can follow this guy all the way across White Orchard. He will go from one end of the map to the other, and eventually he will head into a wooded area where, true to his word, he'll go back to his camp and call out to his friends for help because you're still chasing him.
Help! Help me!
The Temerian's friends will then gang up on you, and you're forced to kill all of them if you don't want the quest to fail. And this is by far the most violent ending to Precious Cargo. You also have to take out the quest giver, although he goes down in one hit, and ultimately somehow survives this first act of violence. After that, things then play out in a similar way, where you can decide what you want to do with him. What's really interesting though is that if you decide to chase him all the way to his camp, and then you choose either of the options where you decide to let him go free without turning him in, after the quest completes you can choose to betray him and just kill him, after which you can loot his body for some extra gold and a sword. You aren't able to do this if you don't chase him to the camp. The game refuses to let you attack him no matter what you do, but if you're ever starting a new playthrough and you want a way to get some extra gold early on in the game, here you go, because you actually get a fair amount from this guy, and that's in addition to him already paying you for having completed the contract. Also, I suppose if you ever really wanted the option to kill this guy yourself, today is your lucky day, because you get paid to do it, and there are definitely quests that let you kill people who have done a lot less. Like I said though, even if you chase him to the camp, if you want to kill him, you can't turn him into the Nilfgaardians, because once you do that, he is protected. You can't kill him anymore. For some reason, you can still punch him, but he just won't die. In all honesty, I don't really know if being able to kill him is even intentional. I almost doubt that it is. I think the reason it's possible is because after you've chased him to the camp, he becomes an enemy you can attack during the fight, and after it ends, they just forgot to turn back on the "you can't attack this target" protection he always has otherwise. It might be intentional considering he has gold on him, but I don't know, I can't say for sure either way. Also, another cool little detail in this quest I want to point out, even if you don't chase him down, you can find the Temerian at this camp by himself after some of the other endings, the ones where you let him go free. I'm not sure why his buddies aren't there, but he's always alone and you can't kill him. What he says to you is dependent on whether or not you took the medicine away. If you let him keep it, he says this:
Thanks once again. Temeria has not yet perished as long as we still live.
And if you took it for yourself, he instead says this:
"'Tis true what they say about witches."
Well guys, that is everything for today's video. If you did enjoy it, leaving a like certainly helps get these videos out there, and if you want to see more Witcher content in your sub box, feel free to subscribe. We are about 500 subscribers away from 20k, and it would be pretty cool to hit that before the end of the year. Anyway, thank you all for watching, have a great new year if you're watching this as it was posted, and I will see you in the next one.